A couple more chairs for the front if you need them. You can like that.
Oh, can you do another one or is that later?
That's later. Unique. If you want to come to that one, you can like touch some dirt and stuff.
Dirt?
Touch some grass and dirt, yeah.
Yeah, we can touch grass.
You can't touch grass. That's what the youth need.
That feels slightly wrong to say that.
Well, that's what the youth say when like you need to get back in touch with yourself.
Oh, is
You gotta
that,
go outside
so
and
it
touch some
doesn't
grass.
have innuendo? Like,
No, there's no innuendo as far as I'm concerned.
I've learned a lot of words and I'll say it and all the tractors do so laugh.
We're gonna learn about it, but a sleuth is
That means
basically
something
someone
more than I
that
think
uses
it
their
could.
Okay, well, I don't remember if I talked about it later or not, but you are later.
So you guys doing some nature back?
Huh?
Yes? No?
This is not a war
Just
song,
come on,
this is domestic based.
this is really cool to be able to.
But they look really similar. This one's not
You
weird,
guys don't
saying.
like this skull?
No, but we had a cat skull in
No, well, I'll talk about it later. This used to be a farm. This whole area used to be a farm.
But find a skull.
This used to be, it was a scary plot, and then this is like, they might have had pigs. This is like the only thing they found that says they had pigs.
But you haven't had it, you haven't
Yeah.
found a fresh
And then
kill
one of the professors was like,
and put them in a bucket.
we should have a place for natural resources to come and learn. Originally, it was for teachers, so that they could go back to their classrooms and teach us around topics. But they bought the property, they kept buying the property, they built the lake, they bought some more property.
Right.
Yeah.
5 minutes. We'll see if anybody looks like the color.
Yeah, but it was like an open dairy farm. I know we're waiting for a few more people.
Waiting
Cars
for
are
a
just
few more?
more,
Okay,
cars are just
I will-
higher people that I know.
Okay, we'll give it a few more minutes, because otherwise they tell the same.
I know, it's crazy. I have friends, isn't that
Right?
nice?
These folks
And
all
they can
heard
do
my
it.
Excellent.
I have friends that care about
to
me
that.
and want to show up for me.
Ah,
How delightful is that?
what do you think about Where did you clean out my
No, it was,
Forget in the
it
morning.
was like a 50-page document that I scanned by bunch of
Well,
Where at?
this is by the
there's kind of a couple of different things. First, the
Oh,
like main guy that owned the dairy on
first we saw this.
died. And then it was kind of a
she
shuffle of like, okay, what do we do
scaffold
with
in the
our
water,
sons?
so then
After a while,
somebody
sons were like, we're not
was
going to
go
do
digging in
this.
the water.
So portion of it
And
was
pulled out.
school, the rest of it kind of was backyards, like some houses remained. And then kind of as people were moving to go to different places, and as the property went
They
for
said they
sale,
reached her hand in.
Fun School University then sneakily were like, hey, we don't want that to go someplace
you know,
else.
I had dates some
And we'll
of
like
the
keep
secret
it.
cases hanging off like that Jackson set up the land. We got your chairs.
They actually worked that like actual big building of centuries on a huge hill, and they took the dirt from where the lake is, so that's why we have the lake, because they transported the dirt over there, and then they needed, like didn't need any more dirt, so that's why there's not, they just shoved it there and made it.
Maybe we'll throw a few
So
more
it's pretty
chairs.
cool, there's historical photos of like when they first built it, and there's kids swimming. Huh? Why do I have a damaged skull? Which one? This one? This one? The deer? Oh, the human skull. Why do I have a human skull? It's not real. I promise. It's plastic. But I'm going to talk about it. We're going to talk about teeth a little bit.
No, I don't want to be a dentist.
Yeah, that's fine.
All right, everyone, we're going to go ahead and get started. I would like to welcome you to Schmeekley Reserve. My name is Chris McCarty, and I'm a professor. Now, as many of you frequent flyers know, here comes the professor joke. And the professor joke is you can relax, because we all know professors profess, and profess, and profess, and you're all a little worried right now, but I am not the one giving the program. It is the totally cool person standing to my right here who will introduce herself as part of the program. But before we get started, I'm just going to share a couple of quick things before we get to learn about this really totally awesome stuff. Okay, number one, just a quick reminder that we do have some other programs for you, and I might mention this again, but I like to do that. If you like programs here, we have a whole lot of programs that we are doing this spring. Feel free to take one of these sheets. The second thing I just want to mention is that these are free programs put on by the seniors at UWSP at Environmental Education and Interpretation, who are just about to go out and have jobs throughout the nation, helping other people learn about nature and connect to nature and be inspired by nature. So, quick note on what am I doing then? Well, I'm just standing around watching Vi, and then we get to talk afterwards about how her skills are. But I also film Vi, so Vi can go ahead, so we have something. So that's what I'm doing there. If there's anybody here who's on witness protection program or something, let me know, and we will make sure to blur your face out on that video. Just pull me aside afterwards, and I can make sure I do that, or for whatever reason that is. Without further ado, thank you for coming.
Thank you. If you do need your face blurred out, I'm the one that does it on Adobe Rush. So,
Yes.
I'm sitting there at the computer clicking around. Well, welcome everybody. Like Dr. McCart said, my name is Vi Schaefer. I am one of the practicum students here at Shipley. And I want to just thank you guys so much for coming. And today we are going to put our detective hats on, and we are going to become skull sleuths. Thank you very much to my friends in the back. We're going to be talking about a lot of different things today. If at any point you need to use the bathroom, need to dip out for whatever reason, you can just head out there and find your way. You don't need to ask me for permission or anything like that. We're also going to be talking about skulls, bones, dead animals. If that doesn't sit right with you, or if you just need to take a breather, that's totally fine. Just excuse yourself. And teeth, correct, and teeth. So you just need to excuse yourself, that's totally fine. Are there any questions or concerns before we get into it? Cool, okay, so, like I said, my name is Vi, and something that you guys should know about me is I love skulls and bones. They are one of my favorite things to go hunting for outside. I have some deer skulls that I found myself when I worked as a mosquito control technician. And then over the summer, I had the opportunity to help clean and articulate a humpback whale skeleton where I lived in Alaska. So that's its skull in the process of being cleaned. It smelled really bad, so I'm not sure that I would recommend it for everybody. But skulls and bones are really, really unique because they sort of serve as these storytellers that can tell us a lot about an environment, whether that be its sort of current health and conditions, what the land might have been used for. And it also just helps us get an understanding of the makeup of the animals that are in our area. So before we get started, before I tell you some of the clues you can be looking for, I want to see what you guys can already do. Inside this bag, I have a lovely skull of unknown identity. And if you guys would be so willing, I'd love if we could pass this around. And as it goes around, sort of gently feel it, maybe kind of how are its eyes, what are its teeth like, and then talk amongst your tables or amongst the people next to you about maybe what could this animal be and why do you think that? Make sense?
Yeah.
That's cool. I'm going to start over here because you guys are rubbing your hands together like you were excited. So as we're going around, you can chat with each other. If the skull is not at your table yet, you guys can just chit-chat amongst yourselves, maybe chat about what you think it is based on its size, things like that. Unfortunately, Dr. Naki only gave me one of the skulls that I wanted for this, so I have the other pieces if we want to look at it later. I think they're all. Oh yeah. Good to know. And just remember to be careful. I don't own these skulls except for one. So don't break them so that they have to be returned next week.
Why would I be wrong?
I said no. I didn't say that. What's your hypothesis? What did you feel? Let's talk about it.
Well, it had
A squirrel? Am I gonna get anything? Say why do you think it's a squirrel? A rat? A small?
Something's what
Yeah, it's a skull. It's the top portion of the skull without the lower jaw, so you can like feel it.
Ah.
Is it a whole top?
Yes. It's a complete portion of the top. You're asking a lot of questions before it's even gotten to you.
Well, yeah, because if you're going to give me a piece of the skull and it's really small, I give you humongous, it's got that bad.
It's not like yours.
No, wait, it doesn't have the, that's not a thing. A skull's supposed to like hold the size of the animal. Like it's kind of not supposed to be small, the body's big.
It can,
Well, yeah.
but not
Like
necessarily.
whales. That's not like the same size as my head. Like
Fox.
A fox? Maybe. Why do you think so?
Because he said it had canine teeth.
A canine teeth?
Oh, good point.
That's a good point. I wonder what the other tables think. You want to pass it around to the next folks?
There you
I
go.
think the other skull that he has of this animal, the professor I got these from, was like all of its teeth are missing, the jaw is broken in half, but I could like maybe glue it back together, but I don't really want to give it to you. And I was like, okay, you don't have to give it to me. Like, you're gonna show that one. So one person in this room should know what it is. I think you were there during my dress rehearsal, Sarah. So.
No, I wasn't.
Oh, never mind. Yes. Shawnee. All right. While we're passing that around, though, we are going to start talking about a few of the sort of things we can start looking at. I know that a few of us haven't gotten a chance to touch it, but I do want to keep moving along. So as it goes around, you can be looking for these things that I point out. Maybe by the end, we can have our hypothesis. So the first thing we're going to be talking about is teeth, because the teeth and the bones within the skull can serve as important clues that help us identify what this animal is. So up on the board, I have a skull of a coyote, so a local animal that's found here in Schneekly. And what do we notice about the teeth on here? Yes?
Well, there's a lot of them that kind of look like mountains.
Like mountains?
Oh,
Yeah.
cool.
Anything else we notice about these teeth? Andres?
They're sharp.
They're sharp, absolutely. One more?
The front ones are like bent forward.
These ones all the way at the front?
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So, as a coyote, they are carnivores, which means that they primarily are eating meat as a part of their diet. And their jaws reflect this. All of these teeth are nice and sharp and jagged, and they behave sort of like scissors as the animal bites down. So as it munches into like a deer leg or something like that, it's able to crush and tear through some of that, so it's able to eat it. In the front here, I like that you pointed out, these are incisors, which are sort of snipping teeth. Has anybody eaten a carrot and they like bite right in the front? They kind of behave as a really precise tweezers to kind of lock things in and pull them away. So I really like that you pointed that out. So this is one type of tooth that we could look at in an animal. This is another type of tooth that we find in our herbivore friends. Yes? You have a question?
Never mind.
Okay. And we can tell that this is an herbivore based on these super various ridges throughout. This is the jawbone of a white-tailed deer. What do white-tailed deer normally like to eat? Anybody know?
Vegetables and stuff.
Vegetables? How about in the back there?
Me?
Yes.
Grass.
Grass? Did you have another idea in the green jacket? No? Amy? Corn, absolutely, up here in the front.
Like little shrubs.
Little shrubs, right? Dense vegetation is their preferred thing to munch on. So they have these teeth that are ridged kind of like our carnivores, but instead of being ridged one way, they're ridged in this sort of opposite way. And it's so that they're able to clamp down on top of corn, grass, shrubs, things like that, and they grind their teeth like this to turn it into a paste. Their stomachs aren't designed for like big chunks of things. They have to grind it down a lot so that they're able to digest it and get the energy from it.
Kind of reminds me of mushrooms.
Kind of reminds you of mushrooms? Yeah, you know what? I see that. I see that. Do you guys see like turkey tail mushrooms out about this time of year? Look like the back of a turkey. Or like colors. You should Google it sometime. It's pretty cool.
Deer, like, shoots food, the food that was in the body and chews it with the back is like a cow.
Not quite. They do have a special stomach, but they don't regurgitate like their cud like a cow does.
They're not topographic either, right?
Seen our student in our presence.
Yeah, it's fine. And then the last type of tooth is for our friends that are omnivores. What does it mean to be an omnivore? Yes.
You eat both meat and herbs, and like you eat the stuff that a carnivore would eat, and you eat the stuff that an herbivore would eat.
Absolutely.
So meat and plants.
Yeah, you have a varied diet. So the teeth also reflect the fact that these animals eat a varied diet. This is a black bear, sort of the underneath of the black bear skull. Then this is a chimpanzee, so we don't have those here, but it seems like a good representation. They have these sort of cutting teeth up in the front, but their back molars, which are way in the back of our jaws, are nice and flat for that grinding motion. So we can tell that this animal eats a lot of different types of food based on the teeth that it has. How is our bag of skull going? Any other thoughts that we want to share with the group? Yes, in the back in the green.
It's a possum.
A possum. Why do you think it's a possum?
Because I got a possum skull and it looks just like it.
Looks just like it? It's a good point. It's a good point. Any other thoughts we want to share?
Okay.
I'll go ahead and say it's canid.
A canid? What is a canid for the folks in the room that may not know?
It's a dog, basically.
A dog type animal. Andreas? A dog type animal? Yeah, those are all good guesses. We'll find out in just a little bit. I'll do a grand reveal. So, the next thing we're going to talk about is something that is really cool to me, and is one of the ways that I use to help identify a bone, and that is eye placement. So, we were to take a human skull.
She ripped it apart.
It's fine. It comes across. It's plastic. It's not real. That'd be terrifying if it was. But we have on our beautiful skulls here, we have these eyes that are like this cat. They're front facing. Why do we think that eyes are front facing on animals like humans or maybe wolves and cats? How about in the back with the flower jacket on?
Me?
Yes.
Because they're a predator?
Right. Yeah. Did you have another answer?
Because they don't need to watch out for as much because, as they said back there, they're the predator. They're the one chasing, so they really need to see forward.
Right.
But then when you have eyes that are facing outwards, it's more like they're looking out for other stuff.
Yeah. Absolutely.
To get them.
That's a great description. So, as predators, our primary focus, if you're a cat, a wolf, or if you are a meat-eating human that hunts for our food, you're looking directly in front of you, right? You're trying to focus on whatever your focal point is. For this cat, maybe it's a mouse. Maybe it's just something that they heard scurrying underneath the kitchen floor. My cat growing up used to just sit by the fridge, even though there was nothing there. So it's a way for us to be able to focus on our prey and keep us pinpointed where we need to go. So this is a great way that we're able to tell what this animal might be, because it shows up in our friend the coyote on this side as well. See how those eyes are front facing? It's a little different because there's no bridge connecting here, but the eyes would face nice in front. Exactly, rawr. So, then for our herbivore friends, they need to be watching out for people and for other predators, right? They need to have a nice, broad range of looking. So this horse has only a little bit where he's focused right in front of him. The rest of it is this super broad area where one eye is able to look. This is the same for our friends the deer, something like this. Well, it looks like they're kind of front-facing. When there's all the muscle and tissue left inside, their eyes actually face out something like this. So pretty similar to our horses. Sound good so far? Cool. So the last clue that we can use to help identify different animals is any sort of unique bones and structures, or just protrusions, that are unique to a certain type of animal. And I think the best representation of this are deer antlers, right? How many of you guys have found either a skull with deer antlers or antlers just out and about? Yeah, lots of people, right? It's a super common thing that we find in this part of the state. It's a really easy way to be able to tell what this animal could be. Obviously, it looks a little different from the female white-tailed deer, but it's a really good indicator of what we're looking at. Show. Don't see it there. So we have our clues. If we were to look out into nature, try to figure out what sort of animal we're looking at, we can use teeth, eye sort of position, as well as any sort of unique structures or features they may have to help us identify our animal. In the front, have we figured out what they think it is?
I think it's a possum.
A possum?
It's like
And
it has the canines plus the...
Mhm.
I couldn't really feel it.
It's 6 times too small for a bobcat, too long. Just too...
Yeah.
I'm enjoying this competition.
I can take it out and do a grand reveal if you want.
I think it's a canid.
Please.
If I can see the inside,
I have our friend the raccoon. So, outside. But what were some of the sort of things that we were looking at? Were you guys looking at eye placement? Yeah.
Yeah, I saw that a little bit.
So for the coon, it's the bigger nose, the lacking of the sagittal crest.
Exactly. We're not going to talk too much about the sagittal crest because that goes a little too in depth with what time I've got. But this is, if we're taking a look at
Clearly an
things that we
expert
talked
crowd
about
here.
earlier, this guy has sort of front-facing eyes, if you can tell. So this animal may go for something living. But underneath, it has the teeth of an omnivore, right? So like humans, we've got some sharper cutting teeth, but grinding teeth all the way in the back.
Raccoons are omnivore.
Mm-hmm. They like to eat little scraps. We often associate them with garbage, but they actually have a pretty wide variety of a diet.
Berries.
Berries, they love berries. There was this really big raccoon where I lived over the summer that liked to eat from the berry bushes in front. So, using those clues, we're able to sort of inform some decisions or sort of paint a picture of what's going on in an ecosystem in the present day. So, can you guys think of any sort of ways that if you found some sort of animal, what it could tell you about what's going on in the ecosystem? I didn't phrase that super well, but I'm curious.
Well, if you find an animal skull, it's kind of like how you have soil sediments, where the soil sediments are like, they're soil sediments.
Right.
So you're looking at you can look at the soil that might be stuck in the skull, or you can look at how the skull is structured. Like if it's a fossil, it's actually just a rock.
Mhm.
So it's not actually bone, but you can look at how that was structured to see how the environment of ancient past would have been.
That's a good answer. That's a really good answer. Good. Did you have an idea? Over here?
Yeah, he was first.
Go ahead, Andres.
Okay. Maybe it could be like kind of like telling you see more than like one bone of like a deer per se in a specific area.
Mhm.
You can tell that like something happened there, or maybe like the population may be going down in some way.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a great answer.
So with like bighorn sheep, dull sheep, and thinhorn sheep, so
Mhm.
you get annual growth rings,
Mhm.
you can determine the harshness of the climate and the weather of
Mhm.
given years based on how much growth they're going to show
Yeah.
on the sheep.
Absolutely. There are animals that their bones can tell us a lot about their life when they were living. So like growth plates, growth rings, all sorts of all sorts of stuff like that. Develops based on different environmental conditions, whether it be the food that they're eating or the sort of weather that's going on. But also it can tell us a lot about what sort of animals make up an area. Specifically, did you have another question or example?
So, what do growth rings look like?
Have you ever cut open or like seen a tree that was cut?
Yeah, so it's like a tree. Okay, that's
Yeah.
what I'm talking
They grow in continuous rings over and over and over. And if you cut it the right way, you can see all those layers growing.
Yeah.
It's cool stuff. But the presence or lack of presence of certain animals can tell us a lot about what's going on in an environment. If we see that there are a ton of deer dying, we might consider, is it hunting? Is there CWD going around? Is there something else happening?
What's CWD?
Chronic wasting disease?
I don't know what that is.
That's okay. It's like a disease that affects some deer.
Okay.
I can explain it to you later. Just because I don't know how to explain it really quickly. But also the lack of certain animals in an area can tell us things. There are types of animals called keystone species or indicator species. Those are really big words. Has anybody heard of these before? Nodding. Does anybody in the back want to tell me what a keystone or indicator species is?
Alright. Well, now I'm shy.
I know you know these. We've talked about it before.
Okay, an indicator species is a species where it needs really specific conditions for the environment that it lives in. Maybe it's a species where it just can't handle any pollution. So if it's polluted at all, it will die or leave the area. So if you find that in a certain area, that usually tells you that there was very low pollution there. Or that can apply to other things that affect the environment as well.
Yeah, that's a great definition. So an animal that its presence or lack thereof is an indicator of the health of the environment. What about keystone species? Do you want to give this out?
Yeah, I'll give it a bit. So keystone species are typically your top predators that like go wolves, or they could be environmental engineers like beavers.
Mhm.
So if they leave an environment, the environment doesn't do so well. There's a noticeable difference in the flora and fauna
Yeah.
of that area, and it's not good if they go.
Exactly, yeah. So a keystone species, if you think what in terms of like carpentry, and stonemasonry, a keystone, if you're building an archway, is the top stone that holds everything together by friction. So if you pull the keystone away, the whole archway comes tumbling in upon itself. So talking in terms of animals, if our keystone species were to disappear, then the rest of the ecosystem could tumble afterwards. So deer are a good example of keystone species, especially in this area, beavers as well. So when we think about those animals, if we're seeing like a lot of an indicator species dying, that might be an indicator that something is going on in the environment that's causing them to die, which encourages scientists to get out there and figure out what's going on. Yes?
So, like, let's say a big predator in an area dies, then it's kind of like, since they're not there anymore, now there's more of its prey, and let's say its prey is herbivores. So then there's less plants, which means that the other herbivores die.
Yes, that's correct. There is a really cool website that models this super well, where you can introduce more wolves and more deer. If you're curious about it, I can show it to you afterwards. It's super neat.
Nice.
So it can tell us things about the current environment, but it can also tell us about the history of an environment. And they are sort of timeless storytellers, right? As they're fossilized into something else, they stay for a really long time and allows us to get a glimpse into the past of what's been going on. So this is a fossil of something that was found probably 30 minutes away from here. And I'm curious to know, what do you think it is? There is
It's an antler.
an antler of?
Oh.
I'm either gonna
I
say.
don't wanna ruin it.
That's how many inches? How many feet is that?
10.
Not feet, inches. I would say this is about
Let 'em keep
a
it.
foot, give or take.
Oh, I know what it is.
Right about here.
I've seen it in person, it's about this big.
I know what it is.
So I'm betting on a white-tailed deer.
I have to do a different guess in the back.
I know what it is, I just don't wanna say it.
I forgot what the name is.
Do you remember kind of what it looks like? Could you describe it to me?
It has little antlers.
Little antlers? Maybe once we reveal the answer, we'll see if you had it right in your head. Any other
The
guesses?
genus, it has the smallest antlers, yes.
Any other ideas?
It's broke off, so it could be something big. But that's the bottom of the deer though.
They're
That's the bottom of the
before
deer.
Yeah. Okay, are we ready to get the grand reveal?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Drum roll, please.
Dun, dun.
It's a caribou!
Whoa!
How was it found 30 minutes? I was closer.
That's just it. How was it found 30 minutes away from here?
Because
Back
this
in
one
time.
is colder because I think
Yeah, exactly. So, way, a long time ago, there were big glaciers that moved through Wisconsin. They didn't recede quite this far. Stevens Point's really interesting in the sense that the glacier kind of just chilled out and kind of skirted around us a little bit. But on the glacier and in the surrounding areas, we had large herds of caribou that used to roam around. And this specific antler was found in Cluck Farm, right there, and Stevens Point is like right about here, so not too far away. And this blue line here represents where the glacier hung out, so it's like right on the border there. So based on that, we're able to make some assumptions about what's been going on in this area, right? Previously, we had some caribou that were living, and we can sort of think about what sort of plants might have lived around here. How might that have influenced the people that lived around here? Unfortunately, we haven't learned too terribly much based on that one antler, but there's a lot of research going on to help figure out what that site was like and how that caribou ended up where it did. But it doesn't necessarily, the history doesn't, did you have a question?
Well, I mean, the caribou wasn't extirpated until 1850, so.
Right.
It's like
These
it's not
ones
like
were,
it's an ancient.
these ones were carbon dated to about 9,000 years ago. Sorry, I forgot to mention that. Thank you for reminding me. Yes, that antler was carbon dated to about 9,000 years ago. So during the last ice age when it was receding. But it doesn't necessarily have to tell us about ancient history. It can tell us about just what was going on around locally. So I have this pretty cool thing here. I'll bring it closer. Can anybody tell me what this might be from? What this jawbone might be from? Yeah?
A wild boar.
A wild boar? Did you have another guess on yours?
Domestic pig.
It is a domestic pig. So, wild boars and domestic pigs have pretty similar structures in their jaws. So that's a really good guess. What gave it away that it might have been a pig or a boar? The teeth, the tusks up in the front here? Absolutely. So this is the jaw of a domestic pig that was found right here in Schmeekley Reserve. It turned up one day and we were able to bring it into our collection for teaching. But based on our knowledge of Schmeekley Reserve, it was kind of a screwball. We weren't quite expecting it. Because at least to my knowledge, this area was a dairy farm at one point in time. If you ever want to look up some interesting historical articles, the guy that ran the dairy farm was unfortunately killed by one of his bulls, and the newspaper clipping is still available, and it was kind of a shock to read. But we're able to tell that at some point in time, the farmers here raised pigs, and it helps us identify some more about what's going on and how we can manage this land better. Cool. Any questions so far? So, I hope you guys are ready to do an arts and crafts activity.
Yeah.
So, what's that? We're not cutting. We're simply going to color and do a little bit of writing. So, on the sheets that I'm going to have my lovely assistant Eli hand out in a second, there are two sort of basic skull forms, I guess you could say. There's a little one, and there's a big one. And what you guys are going to do is you're going to do some arts and crafts. And based on what we talked about today, you're going to design your own skull. And if you're feeling extra creative, it can be an animal that doesn't exist. You could create your own. Or if you'd like to represent a one that's actually living, you can do that as well. But I want you to consider where their eyes are, what their teeth look like, what other extra sort of fun stuff they might have. And then if you're feeling even extra creative, which I hope you are, maybe write a little short story about what this animal was and what it did in its life.
Do we have to write a story?
For you, yes. You're my family, I can say that. You're like, I love this stuff, you know? I can tell you what to do. Oh, my friends, are you ready to be creative? You're gonna make a T-Rex. I am so excited to see your T-Rex.
Oh, Mike loves doing crafts.
Would you like to do an arts and crafts?
Yes. I'm gonna get you some
Coming. Okay, my ready life is gonna be handing out some pens, pencils, crayons, markers, etc. in a second. So they're coming around. We're gonna do some brainstorming. Neat. No, so many options. Pencils are cool. There's more pencils than colors. That sort of colors right there. Thank you. Where did I do? You're gonna write something. Should I put in a laser glove? If you guys would like, I can bring around some of my skull examples up here if you want to get like a closer look. Does that sound good? The coyote?
What's in that little
Like small little rodents. There's a mink, what would you guys? Would you guys like to take a look at this mince? I saw that. If you want to do one, let me know.
Can I make something like that? Oh, yeah.
Do we want some bones to look at when we're drying? Which one do you want? I have a deer, I have a, I don't remember that scientific name. It's like a little muskrat or something similar. Or you want the human skull? Okay, can I show you a really cool trick on this? His brain comes off. Check this out. That's crazy. Alright, you guys can take a look at that one. I'll leave you guys a little one too if you want.
I always thought about
You guys can have a
I always used to put this, so
I love it.
Yes, you are allowed to touch the bones. Just be careful again. They don't want to be. I'll give you guys plenty of time. Just say.
That's bad.
Gray squirrel.
Right, better conditioner.
Yeah, gray squirrel.
And I just saw this.
I'm trying to make something out of
You gave me one complex. Sorry.
No, you don't have to. We're going to challenge by choice. And challenge by choice. I'll tell you that wisdom. No. That means that we're not going to make you know, we're going to recommend it. Yes. I would say.
Which is great.
I'm writing my mom's.
This is sound different. This is sound different. Why is it stuck here?
On the lower jaw.
This is found in 1985. I'm very lazy on this is Italian.
Okay.
Zombie blanket found in 1945.
How's it going, you guys? Oh, I like it. I like it.
I touch it and realize zombie stars.
Poetry. Did you draw this? Did I draw this? Did I draw that? I can't. No. I'm like, oh no,
I like to tell
I'm internet. I kind of have Did you want one or do you want that one? No?
I just had to redesign.
I know we were talking today.
It's all good. You just choose to.
And I can't read it.
It's creative.
Hello.
Because I'm walking out.
Now.
And it's so cute. Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah, so that would be a male. Probably not the bone. The lab that I got these from. Just like specimen. Does that make sense?
DJ, let's get some painting here.
Did you guys want a different plan? When do you see it? That's a question. How are we doing? You feel like you're close to done?
This scary.
What's that?
This scary.
He's scary?
Yeah.
I don't know, he looks kind of friendly to me.
Now, a T-Rex.
A T-Rex? That's scary.
This creepy guy makes a T-Rex
You want some hamburgers? I would not eat that many hamburgers. That's cool.
What's that? Okay, we still want to play.
How about back here? I know we've got some costumes.
Oh yeah, I remember seeing your tornado. This is every boxer. Because this girl used a hair dryer, she's drying her hair in her pet boxer comes up and trying to fill in. She's like, with the hair dryer. And then Stanley, every boxer, they're like,
I'm happy to
hair dryer like that.
Alright, I'm gonna give you guys like 2 or 3 more minutes. Put your final touches on your picture. Maybe if you write a story, think about a few things that, I don't know, that your animal gets up to in its life.
If I don't make a star, I'm not bad.
It's okay, just think of it on the fly, it's fine.
This monster can't eat your it's like anyone except you.
Alright guys, maybe a minute or 2 more. Put your last touches on there. Once you're done, if you want to set your pencils down, just let me know that you're ready to rock and roll. Are you gonna put this up on your fridge? You should. It would make me feel really good. Should we put that up?
I can't make that.
Just like, what is this? Think of it.
You get found? Get me?
I like it. It's beautiful stuff. I like your unicorn. I like your other ones.
This crazy now. No.
It's creepy now.
I like your T-Rex.
I was gonna say, this one is really cool.
Looks really bad.
I'm like, this one is really scary. You did a really good job making it scary.
School is for.
I don't know where
Hi, I'm Bob. I'm Bob. Right now?
Yeah.
But you didn't.
Oh, 500 pieces.
Yeah.
Okay, you guys, you want to put your pencils down? If you feel like you're not in a good spot with your skull and you're able to continue quietly, you can. But I'm going to keep talking, so that's going to disrupt your creative flow. That would be the time to look back up at me.
No, I'm okay.
You multitask? Okay, as long as you're using your ears. So, before we move on, I just wanted to bring your guys' attention to a couple of cool resources that we have here at Schmeekly, and then some cool resources that we're able to use elsewhere. When you find an animal and you're able to kind of determine what it is, there's still going to be parts of information that you're missing. So, a lot of places that do sort of programs like this or have trails have as part of their websites some field guides and checklists. Here at Schmeekly Reserve, we have some for plants, birds, mammals, reptiles, all sorts. So even if you have just a basic, maybe I think this could be it, you can check out some of these resources and then you may be able to fact check yourself or be able to take a closer look. So here's our list of mammals. They have the scientific names. Most people don't need the scientific name, but it's there in case you want to know it. And then you're able to get its full common name so you're able to do some more research on your own. You can also use one of my favorite websites, iNaturalist. If you guys have never used this before and you like hunting around in nature, it's super cool. It's a big database where people are able to submit observations of animals and plants and things like that and be able to have them ID'd by other professionals. So this is what shows up when we look up 54481, which is the Stevens Point area code of this part of the city. And you can see all these pictures that people have observed. This one's on the Schmeekly bird feeder. And you're able to even filter it down further by mammals. And that gives you an idea of what lives in the area and what your skull might be for. So, I just wanted to bring your attention to that. As you head off into the world, though, and you are looking around at different animals and you find some skulls, you should leave it where it is at. These ones were taken. I bought one of these at a garage sale. Some of these were taken for research specimens, but you don't really know what's on those bones. You don't know where they came from. And that calcium that comes from them is really important to help cycle through our soil. So I'm going to encourage you guys to leave no trace, leave it where it's at, so let it be reclaimed by nature, and to not touch it just because we do not know what is on there. Cool stuff. You guys made some really cool drawings. I got a chance to walk around. I would be really, really happy, you're with me here, if we could have some people share their animals. If you guys are super uncomfortable with that, maybe share with your tables. If there are any volunteers to share out loud, yeah, do you want to come on up to the front and show us what you got? Or do you just want to stand where you're at? Doesn't matter. Perfect. All right, what do we have?
I have an alien dog.
Nice.
So, the story is this thing fell from some sort of aircraft while I was playing outside on the field. Looks goofy.
Looks goofy? Nice. Thank you so much. Round of
Okay, this is just a gaster blaster.
Alright.
No.
Yeah, I made a gaster blaster, Andreas. Oh, what you gonna do about it? Okay. Yep. So here's the story. Then I go with this.
Okay.
So I was hiking up a mountain and I fell in the hole.
Okay.
And
Alright.
then I found the lab in the underground hole area.
Uh-huh.
And I read a bunch of research logs, and apparently a guy named Gaster did some experimenting, baloney, and made a thingy that shoots determination lasers.
Determination lasers.
Yeah, I don't know. It's something with whatever the creatures are down there. They can't have determination because apparently that's a thing that comes with souls, and they don't have that. So basically, they were trying to make their own determination.
Interesting. Awesome. Thank you so much for sharing. Round of applause. Andreas, would you like to share yours?
Yeah, I just think.
Come on up. Or show it up so that at least people can see.
I kind of made pretty much a wolf, except for it's just the same.
Oh, nice teeth. Yes.
I kind of fixed it a little bit because the picture wasn't really accurate, so I had to write my own.
I'm glad that you were able to make do with what you
Draw my
had.
own.
Anybody else feel Abby? Let's see it.
Yeah.
So I took my favorite parts of the animals and I kind of put them together.
Mhm.
So I have like the tusks of like the boars. I'm from Rhinelander where we have the Hode.
Oh,
So I
yeah.
have the
Yeah.
horns and then an extra one up.
Yeah.
And then I have like some kind of forward facing eyes because he's a predator. So he has to catch his prey. And then he can also, if the tusks spare off, he can just headbutt. And then he also has some molars and some incisors because he eats meat and
Nice.
Perfect. Thank you for sharing, Abby. I'm sorry, I saw this one.
I just made something.
Oh,
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a unicorn thing.
Any last volunteers?
Uh,
Yeah? Can you pick one to show us? You gotta pick your favorite.
I make a T-Rex.
Anybody
That
else?
was really good.
Nice. Alright guys, thank you so much for being creative with me, and thank you so much for my friends who shared. If you want to stick around afterwards and show me what you made, or if you want to talk amongst each other, that'd be cool. I think everybody should be proud of the art that they made. But we talked about kind of a lot today. I'm going to go through just a blank slide. We talked about a lot today, right? We talked about sort of what sort of clues we can use to help determine what an animal is, using their teeth, their eye placements, as well as any sort of unique structures they may have. And we also talked about how the presence of bones and skulls, or the lack thereof, can help us inform decisions about what the land is going through right now and what it may have been going through in the past. So these bones serve as wonderful storybooks that stay around for a long time, and they're always giving us clues. So I encourage you guys to step outside into nature, find some bones and skulls, and put your detective hats on so you guys can crack the case on what you're looking at.
Don't touch it, you don't know where at.
Exactly. Did you say don't touch it? Exactly. Don't touch it. You don't know where it's been. But that's all I have for you guys today. Thank you so much for joining us. If you liked this program or are interested in any other programs, you can check out the flyers or talk to me, Eli, or Sarah in the back. We're all practicum students and we all have some fun stuff coming up. I know Eli's doing a fly tying something or other.
Yeah, do the fly tying program.
So that's pretty cool. Sarah, what's your next program?
My next program is
This
gardening.
week,
It's
Daddy.
from plants in central Wisconsin.
So, really cool stuff. And then you can join us for my next program where we're going to give our eyes a rest and touch some stuff in shortly. What is it all about for you? I'll be around after the program if you have any questions. Thank you so much for coming.
You guys see the little arms that his T-Rex had?
Take the skull back.
It was.
And help yourself to a piece of candy on the way out.
Check out, here, Mike, check out the little arms. Oh, like a T-Rex.
You have one extra food?
We need to eat the skull.
I have to say, I love that.
Do you want your
You didn't decide. Good job.
This creature thing, this scary thing, make the T-Rex eat 900 cheeseburgers.
Brandon, thanks for coming. I was a little bit worried she wouldn't have enough people. Thanks for sharing. That's really cool, because that shows that, oh look, those CNR folks know stuff. That was cool.
Yeah, I was supposed to be doing Marie, but I can stop here.
Oh, well, there you go. Well, make yourself at home. All right. All right.
I usually get that most people start calling me
All right.
Yeah, I don't really care, like when people call me, I don't care, but then it don't matter. Close enough. This is my first program I've been through. A couple things I've really worked on, but my next one is not here. I have a lab tour guide for so like sometimes I don't. Yes, so I take pictures. You're not gonna take pictures.
Oh,
Okay. I've always started the candy.
yeah.
Well, I'm sure you guys like it.
Yeah.
I was gonna say, I believe you are
what?
film.
One of these offices on campus, another is here, so you can semester.
You guys should only one, that was a lot. Yeah, but I next one, don't turn it I know it's kind of late. We're still open. Oh, you have the trailer. And no, yeah, there is.
Hey, Chris. I live there.
Oh, we'll see her for,
Yeah, they stopped it.
That shot is right here. I'm starting figuring out that slime squirrels
Like that, and then whatever the big
there.
picture.
She's watching the slime squirrels over there. All right, kids, let's go to the next
It's also they pulled up the goldfish this day.
have a good weekend, see you next week.
You bet. Oops, I can turn this off. There we go.